Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome to the Fly With Us podcast. This podcast is bringing the art of conversation, self love, self care, mental health care and protection, life lessons, love lessons, and everything in between. Today, we're going to talk about policing the police. I'm Lady Bounce.
Kryptonite, y'all.
All right, so we've seen in the news lately some things that are disturbing. You got a mindfulness minute to go with it all.
Yes. Okay, so here we go with the mindfulness, all right? To embrace our true nature is not to deny that racial injustice is not pandemic in society or that certain racial groups are not in fact targets of harm. It's about embracing the truth of what is actually happening in the moment with an understanding of its nature. It is impossible to be unbiased when we are unaware of how we have been conditioned in racial likes and dislikes, fears, aversions, and judgments. In other words, racial distress is a real experience, and how we relate to racial distress is habit. Instead of being fearful of other races or convinced we know everything we need to know about race, an exploration of racial conditioning or habits of mind can be a gateway to deepening our understanding of humanity. We are shaped by our conditioning, but we are also shaped by wise understanding and the quality of our awareness. When we are unaware of the nature and impact of our actions, we cause much unintentional harm. Entrenched beliefs and closed minds are what wars are made of. Our challenge is to become more aware. Mindfulness meditation is a practical way to transform our understanding and actions. It is not just a technique or mental exercise, it is a radical practice of self-compassion and respect that supports us in softening the rough edges of racial distress so we can untangle our habits of harm and respond to racial distress more wisely. I will go as far as to say that we need these practices to support us in staying present to the horrors of racial suffering and to experiencing freedom from it. Yes, I said freedom. Knowing from the inside out, momentary freedom is a potent stabilizer when facing racial distress. Another way to say this is that through mindfulness practice, we can know increasing moments of freedom within racism and despite it. This law of all existence is difficult to grasp in the heat of racial distress. However, with mindfulness practice, we begin to recognize through our direct experiences that we can know a deeper freedom, a freedom that is not dependent on outside circumstances being different. Addressing racism requires a multitude of individual and relational interventions. Sometimes we need to speak out and organize with others to resist systems of oppression. There are also times when we may need a good psychotherapist to examine our stories, unpack our traumas, and recognize the relational source of our wounding. The end.
That was deep.
Word. And that mindfulness minutes comes from a book by Ruth King. It's called Mindfulness and Race, Bearing Witness to Our Racial Distress.
I have to write that down.
Glad I could bring something to the table, girl.
I like it. So, and like we talked about at the beginning of the show, these new, I don't know, I was talking to Jay about it, and I was like, police brutality has always been around, but this seems like a new police brutality.
Okay, well, let me tell you, it is, and I have to apologize because I realize that there are things that I might reference, but I don't necessarily have the research information to give and let people know what's going on, you know what I mean, or where I have found that information. Only thing I can really tell you is that since things have been happening with this particular administration, what I do know is that there have been many laws passed right under our nose that we are not aware of. one of those laws has been, and I could be mistaken on how long this law has actually been in practice, but I'm pretty sure that it's new with this administration, and that is this no-knock warrant situation that they're doing. Now, I don't have statistics on how many times these no-knock warrants have gone down at the wrong address, and that's mostly because they don't keep track of that. They don't keep track of how many times they go to the wrong address, how many times that they have been someplace that they weren't supposed to be, how many deaths they've caused wrongly because they didn't have the correct information. Now, of course, we are aware of the Breonna Taylor situation, the young lady in Kentucky that was gunned down by a barrage of bullets in her own home, because a no-knock warrant was being served, but being served to the wrong address. And then, of course, her boyfriend, I'm sorry, I have to look up Kenneth Walker, who was arrested because they wanted to charge him with firing at a police officer because he wounded a police officer. But from my understanding, that police officer was wounded by friendly fire, meaning that there were so many bullets being shot, one of his own shot him. You know, there's a and we'll talk about that too, because you don't hear every time there's a black man concerning a gun or a situation with the gun, you never ever hear about the NRA coming out and speaking and standing with that black man. The NRA never says, hey, black people, you can own guns too. Hey, black people, you are citizens and you're allowed to defend yourself, and you're also allowed to invoke your Second Amendment rights. At no time, not with Philando Castile, not in this case, there has not been not one time I can think of when the NRA has come out and stood by any black person's side and fought for their right to own a firearm the way that they fight for those people that are standing on the steps of Michigan in front of the governor's house with assault rifles, complaining that they can't go get a haircut or they can't go to their local bar to get a drink. You know what I'm saying? But
exactly.
But we got situations like this. Hold on, give me a second. In Milwaukee, understand, in Milwaukee, okay, a man is charged. A man is charged with assault. Actually, I'm gonna take that back. They don't know what his charges are. They don't know. They're not even sure if they went to the right house on that one, because there's been no record of anything. The man that had no prior arrest, he had no prior charges. So this is the first time that he's been involved with the law. Yet they are claiming that he is in connection with drugs and the selling of guns and firearms. Now, I know that there are some good criminals out there, but there's not too many criminals out there that's gonna be career criminals that don't have a record for something. Okay, something. You ain't got a record for nothing. You ain't got a jaywalking ticket. You ain't sold a blunt to nobody. You've been in the game for years. In the game for years. And when you get caught, you don't get caught with nothing. They don't even have any evidence that anything was found at the location where they picked this man up at. They have they don't even have any, they have no record of anything in there. Hold on, let me read this. In Houston, okay? In Houston, a middle-aged couple in their 50s, all right, owned their home for 20 years, okay? Now, 4 officers were wounded in this one, but these 2 people were killed. They were gunned down after they served this no-knock warrant. They shot the man's dog. The man comes out, he's shooting. My assumption is he don't know who's there, who's shooting at his dog. He shoots the guy. The guy falls on the couch. His wife runs over to try to get the gun from the guy on the couch. And then as the police come in, the man is still shooting because he like, what is going on? Because people coming through his door. He's still shooting. So the last person that comes in, the rammer, shoots the wife because the wife is trying to get the gun from the guy on the couch. He comes in, kills her. And then at some point, somebody kills the husband.
Wow.
Now, these people have been in the same house for 20 years. Now, I'm not going to say that they was innocent. I'm not going to say that they hadn't been selling drugs. I don't know that. But come on, man.
But selling drugs is not a death sentence.
It's not. And the likelihood that these two individuals that have been in the same location for 20 years all of a sudden start selling drugs, it's a little iffy. But hey, I don't know. Maybe they did. I don't know. Okay. And we ain't even gonna talk about Chicago. Look, Chicago off the chain. First of all, 3 children have been traumatized for life. Not once, girl, but twice. The Chicago police go into these children's home. Their mom is at work. She's about to get off work. She on her way home. They go in here into this house. It's a 14-year-old, a 7-year-old, and an 11-year-old at home at the time. They go into this house, scare the shit out of these children to death, scare them to death. There's video of it because of the body cam. There's also, I'm getting too far ahead of myself. Hold on. Let me take a step back. All right. So we got 14-year-old, 7-year-old, and 11-year-old at home. Okay, the 14-year-old is babysitting till mom gets off work. They go into these children's home, guns drawn, put guns to these kids' heads. Okay, these children have guns to their face, and that's not it. That's not it. They're not the only ones. There's 23 other children making the same complaints. This little boy had a gun, 2 guns, one pointed here, to his head, in his house, because y'all got the wrong information. What the fuck? How are y'all doing this to these children? Like, excuse me, I'm sorry. I get a little bit passionate with it. But come on, man. 1 is too much. You know what I'm saying? 1 is too much. Then you killing innocent people. Then your own people was getting shot and killed in the process. Like, you know what I'm saying? Y'all don't think that's just how you just busting in somebody's house in the middle of the night and don't expect to get shot at. Like, you come in with a battering ram. You don't say who you are. You just bust through. And that's not the way that is supposed to work. You are supposed to announce yourself. Hold up. Matter of fact, let me find what I did with that little tidbit of information. Because I know I got that. Hold on. Here we go. That's not it either. Now, how I get that from the other one? What the heck? My phone is tripping. I done got mad now. It's in here somewhere. I'm gonna have to look for it again.
Okay, so while you look for that, I always think that with the technology that we have and advanced as we are as people and scientists, that surely we have enough common sense and enough technology to be able to make sure that we're knocking on the right door, or that we've got the right intel, you've got the right, CIs giving you accurate information. And even if the off chance that you blame it on the rain, that you didn't get accurate information when you busted in somebody's house, when you busted in this house and you saw that there was nothing but children, where's your humanity and your compassion to kick in and say, wait a minute, these are kids?
Listen, I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna go in. In the United States, a no-knock warrant is a warrant issued by a judge that allows law enforcement officers to enter a property without immediate prior notification of the residents, such as by knocking or ringing a doorbell. In most cases, law enforcement will identify themselves just before they forcefully enter the property. It is issued under the belief that any evidence they hope to find can be destroyed during the time that police identify themselves and the time they secure the area, or the event where there is a large perceived threat of officer safety during execution of the warrant. Now, in an ideal society, then we that's what would happen. The police would identify themselves, but they don't do that. We aren't getting reports of police saying, police open up. That's not what's happening. police are going in, battering down doors and busting in on children. Now, this same incidents that I'm talking about, you can see these police on body cams. They're supposed to have their body cams on from start to finish. Far too often, we are noticing that these police officers are turning off their body cams. Just flat out turning them off. One
in
police
that incident, they said that the one cop was like, we're in agreement, everybody's gonna turn off the cameras. Like, what?
Yeah, there's that. And there's but you have children unattended by an adult in the house. How you turning off your body camera? There was one incident where a police officer, that's a whole nother, I don't know if I gave you that video, where this police officer decided to pursue a 15-year-old boy on one of them ATVs. Mm-hmm. And he was in pursuit of this boy, and the little boy flipped. His ATV flipped, killed him instantly. He dead. So his partner is on camera like, you was fucking chasing that kid, and they standing there, they was like, oh, that's a grown ass man. No, it's not. Then you got one punk ass Uncle Tom wannabe Oreo ass just talking about when you act grown, then you have grown repercussions, and there's grown responsibilities. You want to be grown. There is a 15-year-old black child laying dead in the middle of the street, and your brown nose and butt kissing, boot licking, wanna be one so damn bad you could taste it. Oreo, Uncle Tom, Brother Ruckus looking, wanna sit up there and say some bullshit like that. Like you gonna say some bullshit about a 15-year-old. You wanna be grown. You like, sit your fat ass down.
Well, and as you said that, I got into a Facebook conversation with some people in mom's age bracket, and they were talking about the new class of police recruits who just graduated. And her question on Facebook was, how many of them were black? So then I had to get on her post, and I didn't want to get her all the way, she an old lady, and old people probably shouldn't Facebook. But I said, really, it doesn't matter what color he is, because just because he's black doesn't mean that he's gonna be for us. And I'm sure white cops ride for black and brown people just as hard as they do for their own. So, for me, I was like, it doesn't matter what color he is. And I hate when people say that, we need cops who look like us. But just because he looks like me doesn't mean he identifies with me. It doesn't mean he's gonna see me when he sees me.
Here's the issue with that. The reason that it matters is because if there's more of us on the force, then there's more of us that can infiltrate the force and be the type of cops that we need in our communities. You see what I'm saying? Because there's not enough of us. Then there's too many of us that conform and get brainwashed, or they just get booted out for doing their job. When they try to blow a whistle or they try to bring attention to something, then they just get booted out or moved on. You know what I'm saying? Right. So the sad part is that the ones that are trying to conform, the ones that are trying to infiltrate and change the system are being put out by the system. So those ones that do conform, and those ones that are brainwashed, the ones that are sitting around with Lily at home, looking like a jar of mayonnaise, while he walking around here looking like a stack of beef jerky. You know what I'm saying? And I don't even mean, and it's not even so, it's just that you already know when you hear a black man talking like that, you already know he got a lily white life. You know what I'm saying? You already know he a token. And it's so sad you don't even see what you're doing. Because you're standing with all these white faces, you see all these white faces, and the only thing you can do is be like, I'm just about the blue. But what you don't understand is the blue is about nothing but the white. Exactly.
So I mean, I see what you're saying. It would be nice to have more, more of us on the force. But when I think of having more of us on the force, I think more of us who grew up in the areas that they serve. So they are more like you and me. You know the struggle. Your dad maybe wasn't around, or he maybe was only around part-time, or maybe you did have two hard-working parents, but they raised you, to be black, to be of your blackness, to be aware of your blackness, and not to let your blackness fade when you put on the blue. So if your blackness fades when you put on the blue, then you served on purpose, and it really doesn't matter that you're black, in that instant. Because even in the crazy incident with the young man in Indiana, a lot of that was, of his own doing, but the remarks made by the black officer when he walks up to his dead body was just real foul.
Wasn't it just ridiculous?
It was foul. I was like, how could you? It's going to be a closed casket, homie. How callous of you. Regardless if he did the dumbest thing possible, which contributed to his demise, this is still a person who is now dead, and this is what you say.
And then people act like they forget how that they was once young and dumb.
Yeah.
At some point in life, we was all young and dumb. At one point in life, most of us have done something that we probably shouldn't have, or that maybe we regret. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And that why do I have to take a bullet to the back or a bullet to the head? Y'all can't shoot a limb?
Right. I say that all the time, like, but that goes back to their training. For one, police are not trained to repeat themselves. So one or two times of them giving you the command, they expect you to comply. And then they aren't taught to shoot to wound. They are taught shoot to kill, center mass, headshot. They're trained that way, which is a horrible way to train them. Or why do they all have to? Why don't they? Why isn't it mandatory
that? Gotta be a shot, because not every situation is that. Not every situation requires that.
Why aren't they forced to first you shoot the rubber bullet, and if that don't work, then you shoot the real bullet? Like, you should have the two guns.
Okay, so
rubber bullet hurts. Like, it don't stop you if you're doing something remotely crazy and you get hit in the right spot.
Especially when you're dealing with stuff like somebody that won't comply that's on a bike. Why are you shooting somebody on a bike?
Yeah, like, how far that really don't get? How much of a threat are they to you, really?
They don't have no bag. They don't have no loot. You don't see no evidence of any type of anything. They just running from you. And the first thing you think to do, not grab your taser, but grab your gun. Right. And shoot the gun. Because they won't stop, because you told them to stop.
Right.
Let me get back to this situation in Chicago where they raided these poor babies' home. So on the tape, you will see that these police officers are questioning these children with no adult, trying to get them. You know where the stuff is. You know where the stuff is. If you just give us the stuff, we'll get it and leave. And they like, what are you talking about? We don't know what you're talking about. They grilling these kids, okay? Grilling them. Now, they told them, if you don't give us the stuff, we gonna be back. Blah, blah, blah. Here's what I don't understand, because here we go. You bust into these kids' home. You don't find what you're looking for. You treat these kids like criminals. You put guns to their heads and make them sit with their hands up next to each other. And you traumatize these kids. And then you threaten them and say, we'll be back. Don't you know 3 weeks later, them motherfuckers went back and did the same thing? How you got the same wrong address twice?
Right.
You went there the first time and you didn't find nothing.
Exactly.
You didn't find nothing. You searched the home when there was no adult there to stop you.
And they even asked the kid, where's this person? And they named the person, and they're like,
and the kids don't know who they talking about. Like, who are you talking about? And so you go in there and you raid these children's home. You make them feel unsafe. You search their place. You got the wrong address and you going through all their stuff. And then you come back again in 3 weeks and do the same thing. Nobody realizes that that's the wrong address at this point. After you done fucked up the one time, you go fuck up again because you didn't check your first fuck up.
Right.
How you go back to the same address in less than 1 month? The same wrong place in less than a month? How does that happen? They had 6,800 cases where they did a no-knock raid in Chicago. Out of them 6,800 cases, 3,000 of those cases ended up in no arrest.
Wow.
That's damn near half. That's damn near half of who you went after. You didn't arrest half the motherfuckers you was looking for. Wow. So how many of those was you in the wrong place? How many of those you got the wrong information? And you know what?
A lot of them.
Listen, and they don't know. They don't know because they don't keep track of it.
They sure don't.
How you don't keep track of that shit? And but no, you don't keep track of it. You don't keep track of it because all of this is happening in the Black and poor communities, where there's in the minority communities. Because it happens to white people too. It's just that predominantly it happens to us. You know what I'm saying? It mostly happens to us. But don't get it twisted because white people is in there too. If you poor and you white, you gonna get it too. But you don't see them doing no knocks on people in the rich neighborhoods. And hell, if they went to half of them jokers' houses, they'd find every damn thing they was looking for.
Oh yeah.
From meth to weed to heroin to crack, coke, all of that. You find all of that going up in the suburbs, going raiding one of them little houses up there with one of them little suburban children. Have a no-knock wrong address on that and see what you come up with.
They ain't gonna make it out of that.
They're just not gonna do that.
So we gotta wrap this thing up. That's pretty serious.
Already?
Yeah, I know. Okay. Right? I said the same thing. So for our self-care assignment for this week, today, look at others as if you see them for the first time you do. So when you look at somebody else, pretend like it's the first time you saw them because, they're human. See humanity, right? So we're going to wrap this up with some brain science because that's what we do. So we know that the police have the ultimate power, or so they believe. And this is why they believe it. Did you know that there's concrete science behind why they think they are the we're all end all? So what power does to your brain and your body? So from the bully on the playground to the bigwig in the corner office, power dynamics are everywhere in our lives. People are starting to wonder, is there something about the rush of being empowered that leads people to commit despicable actions? Science suggests that there are unusual things happening in the brains of power holders. Decades of study have shown that the psychology and physiology of powerful people are notably different from those of average people, down to the architecture of the brain's prefrontal cortex and the way the heart pumps blood. So it actually changes your whole body. It changes the way your body functions.
But I guess because it's a rush of adrenaline.
Absolutely. Being powerful can dampen your ability to empathize with others, hence the police. They don't empathize with the people that they're policing. So that is a major problem. Powerful people are less able to mirror the people that they observe or interact with. So again, they don't see us, they don't see themselves in us, and so it's easy to shoot us. And not just black people, there have been incidents of white cops shooting white people just as well. So when I say us, I just mean regular citizens, not necessarily people of color. But
minorities, people, broke people.
Right.
Busted in the pocket people.
Right. Leaders can find it tough to muster up compassion. Same instance again, if you have a boss who's a jerk, he doesn't see the fact that you've been working 90 hours a week and you're tired. He just wants whatever he wants out of you as an employee.
Right.
So powerful people are less likely to share and more likely to break the rules, hence the police who break their own rules and laws that they enforce on us.
But every corporate business individual that's embezzling money and breaking rules and predatory lending and predatory, girl, okay.
Exactly. Exactly. So there are some antidotes. Some antidotes are reflect at the end of each day what you have done and ways that you may have abused your power. If you find that there is a way that you have abused your power, see what you can do tomorrow to change how you interact with those that you have power and authority over. Leaders who remember that their power is only good as the respect that others have for them have an easier time staying grounded.
That's what's up. And we need to organize and stop we can change things. You know what I'm saying? As people, we employ these people, we pay these people paychecks, and this is just ridiculous that we are dying because of their ignorance. You know what I'm saying? their inability to get things right. So we need to start standing up for ourselves and organize. When one of us goes down, that's a reflection of how they're going to treat all of us. So we need to get on that, because this no-knock stuff, going into the wrong place, traumatizing our children, terrorizing our neighborhoods, that needs to go away.
It needs to go away. And so speaking of going, you can always fly with us on YouTube, Anchor, SoundCloud, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and wherever you get your favorite podcast. Keep flying this week. We'll see you next week. I'm Lady Bounce.
I'm Kryptonite Child.
And we out.
All right.